What is up? So today was a really good day. I was super excited in the pre-market because everything was kind of setting up how I was hoping or how I would like really want to play it. And yeah, it just ended up being a really good day. Like 17R again today, so I'm not mad at it. All right, so this is what I saw on the SPY. If we're looking at the daily, this is kind of what I've been watching here. So we've got this little range here, this little situation, and I'm seeing this. So we're back in this area, and every time we get into this area, we just kind of, get stuck for a little while. And that's kind of what's happening right now. So I'm mostly looking, at the top of this range and the bottom of this range for any sort of play today on my stocks. So I want to see how the SPY reacts with the top of this or the bottom of this. So when we go to the 5-minute chart, and we're in the pre-market, this is what we see. So here's the top of that range, here's the yellow line, here's the bottom of that range, and we're opening, right near the top of this range. So then when I pull up the pivots, I have it on my other chart, I'm not gonna switch between, but they're basically sitting like this. So we've got R4 up here, and I'm thinking, if we get a breakout of this, this level to the top side, then we might get a rejection at R4 because the pivots are still kind of wide. So that's what I was looking for. I was looking for, if we break, we go long on something, at least for a pop, maybe not an all day trend because we've still got this, this range down here. Maybe we get a pop, and then, if we open and we reject, then we'll just go short on something, back into this range. So that is basically what I was looking at with the SPY. And then these are the stocks I chose. So the first one that I traded this morning was OXY, and show you what I was thinking on that. If I go to the weekly, you can see this setting up over here. So we've got this little range right here that it was kind of trending in and compressing in before the pandemic back in 2020. And we're just now getting up towards this again for the first time. So I'm thinking, if the SPY opens strong, we'll get a pop into this level. And if it opens weak and rejects the level, then we'll get back down maybe to the top of this or something. So that's what I was looking for. And on OXY, what's interesting about this is I think I have pivots on, not on that chart. Okay, I'll just bring them up over here. On OXY, you can see here that yesterday we had these really wide pivots, right? And today they're compressing. And the cool part about this is we've got R4 lined up almost exactly with that level on the range. So this yellow line right here is the bottom of that weekly box that we're hitting up against. So I'm thinking if the SPY breaks up in the morning, we've got a breakout of R4 and this level, at least for some sort of pop to the upside before maybe the market rolls over or something. So I knew that I wanted to be long at the open if that happened. So that's what I did with OXY. And basically the SPY popped up, and I just hit in long right when the SPY started popping up above the level that I had marked. So I just hit in long, and oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, the energy sector, XLE, was also up against R4, and I think if I remember correctly, it was trending towards a level. We'll just bring this over here really quick. Yeah, exactly. So just gonna zoom in on this little box. Yeah, so if you take a look at XLE, we're opening right here, and it actually has a level up here. So again, I'm looking for some sort of pop and rejection. And that's what we did. So, all right. So OXY was a simple one. I just, I hit in at this level knowing that, if we couldn't hold it and we lost, I would just get all out. Or if the SPY couldn't pop and hold, I would just get all out and at least wait for a different setup with it. Or, maybe take it short. But yeah, I just held it. Struggled for a little while, I was throwing these wicks, but every time asks came, big asks came down on the L2, the bids just took them out, and it didn't really push it down. It just kind of ate through it and just kind of hung out. Maybe pushed down a couple times, but it wasn't anything that would signal to me oh, we have to be short in this. So yeah, I just kind of held it, and then we got close to 39, and I took a partial up here. I was thinking, maybe we would get up to 40, but or at least an ATR move on it. But then the SPY started to hit resistance, and XLE started to hit resistance, and so I just hit out of it right here. Didn't even let it get back down to break even. I just hit out. Hindsight, obviously, could have shorted this back to the bottom of some sort of range here, especially with the SPY rolling over and XLE rejecting a level. But I was actually already in forward on a short right around the time that I hit out of this, and I was like, I don't need to be in these two at the same time. Would have been amazing, but yeah, I can only do so much. Okay, so that was OXY, and then when we take a look at Ford, so Ford was really fun, and yeah, super loved this one. So I'll leave the pivots on for a minute just so you can kind of see. Okay, so I've been watching this obviously for a few days, at least playing it. I think even since like last week I was playing it. Was it last week? At least definitely this week. I've played it a few times. We've got this range on the daily, and we're basically in there right now. So I'm looking at the top of the range and the bottom of the range for a play. And if I go to the 5-minute chart on Ford, what's fun about this is you could not get any more precise with a pivot lining up with one of my levels. So OXY was very close, but Ford, my level is 2050 and R3 is 2050. And I was just like, oh, sweet baby Jesus. We are going to, hopefully with the SPY, pop to this and then just get a rejection all day long. So that is exactly what I was looking for. So while I was in OXY riding long, I was like, I'm just going to take OXY long until it's, until I'm done with that. And then I'm going to be looking at Ford for a short of this level. So what I did and how I played this was, so again, spiraled over and rejected R4. And Ford tried to break out of R3 and its topside daily range level, and it couldn't and rejected. So as it broke down through this level and it tried to kind of pull back into it, I just hit in short right here. And then I was just looking at this like, that is such a strong rejection of this level, like this pivot with this range level. And I'm just expecting it to do this, especially if the SPY continues to trend downward for the rest of the day. So once I hit in here and we got down here, I was immediately like, where do I add into this? Because I wasn't super heavy on the first go. And so what I was looking at for an ad was, I think if I go to this, yeah, this is probably the best to see. It's still small, but hopefully you can see what I'm seeing. So we've got this going on. Oops. I know it's probably really hard to see, but if I take a box, we've got this, right? So I'm waiting for some sort of like rejection and pullback of this smaller intraday range to add into my trade. So what I did, zoom in here to the 2-minute. So the bottom of that range that I just showed you is right around here, and the top of it is right around here. And as we trended down, it was kind of struggling right here. And I thought, I don't know, like in a perfect world, I would add at the pullback to the top of this intraday range. But I don't know, I wasn't convinced that it would go back up to it. So, in anticipation of the move downward, I went ahead and I just added at the bottom of this range, thinking maybe it would just trend down. But in my mind, I was thinking, if it does get back to the top of this, I'm going to add again. And so I added here at the top of the range. And while we were up there, what was really great as a key signal, so not only do we have 2050 up here, which is, a very strong, because it's a $0.50, it's a range level, it's got all these things going for it. But when I see really, really large stacks of asks go from being at like a $0.50 or a whole dollar to now being like 10 cents below those levels, I'm seeing it as sellers are stepping down. So they're not expecting the buyers to come up above 2050 to, buy and push the stock higher. And so they're just, in my mind, how I read it is they're just stepping down and saying, we're gonna get out before 2050. We're gonna get out before this huge level. So I mean, the asks were so big and it was just like a chunk of them. And as we pushed up into it at 2040, I mean, it just kept pushing down and nothing, it like just was not breaking through. And I saw on the tape, a lot of the sales were going through at 2039. So we've got this huge ask at 2040, but all the sales are going through on the bid. So, the asks, they're just like stepping down. They're just like, take me out of here. So after I hit in here and I saw all that happening, I was like, to hell with it, I'm going again. So we went in again. So I'm pretty heavy in this at that point. But yeah, and then I just, I held for, my initial target was 20, the whole dollar of 20. But I saw it kind of hold a little bit here at about 2010. And, this is the intraday, the low of the day. So I just partialed that low of the day. Then I waited for 20. Then I waited for previous day close. And then we got this nice little pullback. And as we were pulling back, I saw, you can't see as far down, but at 1950, we had this bid and it was just kind of building, right? So it started at like, I don't know, 200 lot, and then it went to like 3, and it was starting to get up to 4. And I was like, on this pullback, I'm gonna hit in for an ad. So it's also like basically the bottom of a range. So I hit in for the ad. I took another partial when we got back down to previous day close just to make sure, because sometimes, they can do that. So, just take a little bit more profit off the table. And then my target was, zoom in here. There's a lot of pivots on here, so it's definitely hard to see. Let me just change that real quick and default. There we go. Okay, so ideally, I'm looking for that bid at 1950, but the RVOL on this was 76%. So what I did was I take the ATR, which is like a $1.14 on Ford, and I multiply that by 76%, and it gives me what my ATR for the day will be based on the RVOL. So after I took all these partials, I was like, well, I don't know if it'll get a full ATR move. So where would my partial be if it only got 76% of the ATR? So I took another partial here, which was 76% of the ATR, and then I held a little bit more for this previous day low. And, this bid was still down at 1950. I just kind of figured we'd probably just go get it and then go back up. So when we got to previous day low, I just went ahead and hit all out. I'd been in this thing for a really, really long time anyways. But yeah, it was super fun trade, super clean, as far as like being able to read what was going on between the levels, the L2 and the tape. And yeah, I had a lot of fun on this one. So yeah, hopefully you guys had a good day, and hopefully you learned something from this trade on Ford and maybe a little bit off of OXY. And yeah, all right, I'll catch you later. Peace.